All right, lovely. We'll get started then. So, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us. As I mentioned, we are back now after a bit of our webinar hiatus over the summer. So, following this webinar, we've lots of exciting sessions coming up, and we'll take you through what we've got coming up at the end. Today's session, however, is dedicated to clean up your platform data.
Yeah, over time, even the most well-managed systems can start to get a little bit messy. So duplicate users, outdated course templates, and old data can quickly build up, making it harder to find what you need and slow you down. So today we're going to walk you through how to give your platform a spring clean. Well, I chose the wrong word in there. The goal is to help you keep things organized, efficient, and ready to support your team moving forward. So by the end of the session, you'll know where to look to clean up your data and how to tackle them.
Yeah, perfect. So ahead of the session today, everyone was asked to think about any areas in the platform that you may feel is a little bit messy. So we're interested in what you're all thinking and what you've come up with. So we're about to launch a poll. So we just launched it now. If you can let us know while we go through the usual housekeeping, and just click a vote if you've got any extra answers on the areas that you think are most messy within your platform. So while that is going, you guys fill that in, we'll go into our usual housekeeping.
No, we don't want things to get messy on the webinar, do we? Just keep it tidy. So everything that we'll be covering today is available in your off-the-shelf platform. There's no extras, modules needed. This is all core access planning functionality, so you can implement anything we talk about straight after the session. We're recording, and we'll send out the recording to everyone on the session and everyone who's registered, so you can watch it back or send it on to your team if you'd like. And finally, the Q&A is open throughout the session, so please ask any questions as we go. Over to you, Jack, for the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you all for doing the survey too, the poll. We've actually got a pretty even mix between users and accounts, course templates, and historic data. So yeah, generally pretty much a mix of everything. So thanks for filling that in. We'll have a run through today's agenda then. So in today's session, we will be going through clearing up your user records. So learning how to merge duplicate users, anonymizing your old records, and just keeping your data accurate and compliant. We'll then look at streamlining your course catalog, so how you can archive outdated course templates, keeping your training offering relevant and easy to manage. We'll then jump into looking at decluttering historic data. So we'll see how to identify and remove information that you no longer need in your platform, making sure your platform stays lean and efficient. And then finally, we'll look at how we maintain that tidy system going forward. We'll give some tips and some best practices to keep your platform data clean in the long run. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the Q&A at the end. As Frank mentioned, that the Q&A box is open, so please do pop anything in there as we go along. So just before we jump into the content, we'll just go through, for those of you that don't know us, my name's Jack. I am one of the customer success managers here at Access Planet. My favorite feature, as mentioned there, is dashboards. They're really good for a nice visual summary and the information you need straight away. And my fun fact, if you don't know me, I love theme parks and roller coasters. That figure's actually out of date now because of a recent trip. We're now on 176, which is quite fun.
200 is possible now.
200 is possible.
So I'm a customer success manager here as well. My favorite feature is quick edits. I just find it really helpful. It saves a lot of time. So I'm half French. Outside of work, I love to cycle and I love to explore. Well, I might not love exploring after this weekend and a 48-hour hike, so I'll keep you posted.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's start with one of the most important areas, your users. Keeping this data clean is about organization, accurate compliance, and making your user data grid easier to work with. When your user data is tidy, you can trust your reports, find the right people quickly, and avoid confusion caused by duplicates or outdated information. Plus, it helps you stay on top of GDPR requirements.
Yeah, so in this section, we're going to look at how status changes can help you manage your users effectively. So that could also include adding notes in bulk to explain those updates. We'll look at ways to anonymize users, so making sure you are compliant while keeping your key records are intact. We'll look at merging users, so when you've got duplicates, how do we keep those tidy? And then finally, we'll look at how to tidy up your admin users to ensure your GDPR compliance and also to make sure that your platform is safe and secure. So we'll start with something a little bit easier and we'll look with managing user statuses.
Yeah, so statuses are a simple but a powerful way to keep your user data organized. So by updating statuses, you can clearly mark whether a user is active, inactive, deleted. This makes searching and reporting much easier. You can use the quick edit in your user's data grid to change the status of a single user super quickly. The screenshot on screen is from the user data grid, but you can also update user statuses in for hundreds of users in bulk. So let's say you want to mark anyone who hasn't engaged with your courses or logged in as inactive. Here are the steps you would take. So let's have a look at the video. So let's open your user's data grid. Let's have a look at the filters and create some new filters. So let's look for last logged on, and then here it would be empty. So let's add that. Let's look for the latest course booked, and again, empty, and add that one. So active course count equal to 0. Let's just preview it first of all, make sure it works. And you can see them all here. And then you can hit the bulk edit to change the status. So make them inactive. Let's save it. And there we go. 9 items have been updated. And you can also add notes here as well in bulk. So once you've done it, it's worthwhile just adding a note. So when you look back at it historically, you'll know, when you did it, why you did it, keep a track of it as well. So in this case, low engagement. And then hit save. Great. So now when I'm selecting users for courses, reports, dashboard gadgets, or searching for a customer, I can filter all these people out easily by excluding users with a status of inactive.
Right, there we go. Perfect. So next we're going to look at anonymizing users. And this is an essential part of being compliant with GDPR. So this is going to allow you to strip out personally identifiable information, but keeps that record intact for reporting purposes. So for example, you may need to still report on a historic course, the completions or finance records, but you don't need that user's individual name or contact details. Anonymizing is going to strike the balance between keeping your platform compliant, but without losing that valuable reporting data. So once you've applied filters or found the specific user you want to anonymize via the search, you will then be able to find the anonymize tool. So you select the user or users that you want to anonymize. Alongside the bulk options at the top left of the data grid, we'll then select the anonymize, confirm the message, so you can see that it is not reversible. So make sure that you take your time on making sure you anonymize the right users. And that is then done. You're now searching, and you can see we search for none. You can see that we've got these anonymized users. So their record is still there, but without anything that's personally identifiable. So these users will now all be set to inactive. They've got their personal information anonymized, but still keeps that record for reporting purposes.
Duplicate users can cause real headaches. Bookings and delegates relating to the same person are stored under different user records. This leads to inaccurate reporting or confusion when trying to find the right person. That's where merging users comes in. So this feature lets you combine duplicate records into a single clean one, keeping all relevant history intact. So when you merge, you combine all the information from both users, so invoices, delegate records, bookings, communications, all now live under the one user. Important though, if there is any conflicting information, for example, both users have a different surname or a different email address, you need to choose a primary user for the merge, which will take priority with the conflicting information. We'll have a look at that shortly. And the quick top tip, there is also a merging accounts option. So you can go through the same process with duplicate customer accounts and have them and that have been registered. So let's look at the merge process in action in the users data grid then. So we've found 2 duplicate users. If we click on them both and then on to merge, this is where we would choose which one we're wanting to keep. So we're wanting to keep this one here because it's got the email address. And then if you hit merge, and you've got the important information there, and then click yes. And it's as simple as that.
Perfect. So finally, it's important to keep your admin accounts tidy. So outdated or unnecessary admin users, they don't only clutter your platform, but they can also create some compliance and security risks too. So we recently were checking on an admin access and found so many platforms with admins that hadn't logged in for years. By regularly reviewing who has admin access and removing or downgrading old accounts, you reduce GDPR risk and make sure that only the right people have the right permissions. So to downgrade a user for an administrator, you edit their account and change their main role from training administrator to an individual. If this option is inactive though, such as this, so you can see here under main role, it's just got the word training administrator, doesn't have the drop-down option, then you'll need to go to the roles page for this user. So you'll go to edit the user, go to roles, and then you can see we've got the training administrator role. We will need to remove their administrator role, or if they only have the one role, which is training administrator, update it to be an individual. And then next, we're going to look at how you can use custom fields to tidy up and manage your course templates. So we're moving into the course catalog section.
So for a lot of training providers, course offerings are continuously being updated, course content gets refreshed, new courses get introduced, some courses are discontinued. After several years of using your Access Planet platform, you may find that old courses start to get in the way, causing your course templates data grid to be cluttered, making it harder to find the right template quickly. So I'll show you now how you can use the custom fields to mark old course templates as archived, and then you can hide them away. So if you click into administration, and let's have a look for custom fields. Let's go into the custom fields. So here we have an archived one. Let's edit the description. So checkbox course template. And you can see it here in your columns archived. And if you hit the quick edit button, which like I said is my favorite, you can quickly mark it to archived for individual ones as well. And then if we set a filter, archived equals no. So hide the archives, save it. So they're the ones that are not archived. Let's select a course template. And then here we go. You can share filters as well with your team. So you just select who you want to share that with, and it'll be really helpful for them as well. Press copy. And there you go. So you can set up this filter in the course templates data grid when you're scheduling the course, as we've just seen, in the e-learning courses data grid, and in the knowledge document courses data grid as well.
Perfect. So now that we've seen how you can filter your course template list to hide away your old archive templates, we've got a bit of a top tip. We've seen it often where old course templates are updated to have the label do not use or old added into them. We advise against this because when you add this in, so this course, for example, here, the eating for well-being, we add the prefix in of do not use. When you add that in, if you ever need to look back at old invoices, regenerate certificates, you're going to have the do not use included. So you can see here on this invoice, we've got do not use prefix at the start for the item. So if you do need to include some text in the label, we suggest adding it to the end as a suffix, but ideally stick to the archive custom field to prevent things like this from happening.
So now let's turn our attention to something that can build up quietly in the background, and that's historic data. So over time, your platform can accumulate tasks, files, notes, and documents that are no longer relevant. Maybe they were created when processes were still being figured out, or they've simply been replaced by more up-to-date records. While they're not usually harmful, this kind of clutter makes it harder to find what you need. It slows down searches and adds noise to your reporting.
Yeah, so in this section, we're going to look at how we can delete old tasks. So ones that were set up during testing or early automation experiments. We're going to look at clearing out some old files, so ones that you no longer are useful, such as e-learning packages or document templates. And then finally, we'll look at deleting document packages that you no longer need. So only the most relevant ones remain available in your platform. So we will start with tasks.
So over time, especially during testing or early setup of automation, many tasks get created and then forgotten. So these then linger, they can clutter up dashboards, make the task list seem overwhelming or irrelevant, and get in the way of you being able to use tasks for what they're supposed to be used for. So very easy to get rid of a task that you no longer need. So here are the areas to clear out outdated tasks, clean up the central task list, stop new unnecessary tasks being created via course templates, and the same with workflows. Let's say that your introduction to management course doesn't need a tasks for ordering catering. Just go to the tasks data grid. Let's look for the task. So we can see all three of them there. And then you can delete them in bulk.
And then separately to course tasks, if you have any workflows generating tasks, you can also remove these as actions as well. So first of all, we're going to go to find the course templates that are generating these tasks. So we're going to, these are created every time a course template is, a course date is made off these course templates, it's creating tasks. So we're going to go into the course template, into the task, and then delete that task from there. We'll remove the ones that we no longer need, and that is just going to mean that every time we create that course, a new task isn't being created. And then I mentioned workflows, and this is separate to core tasks. Some workflows have been set up to generate tasks. As you can see here, we've got an action for creating a task. We can just go in and delete that workflow action, and that means that whenever that workflow runs, it's now not going to create a task. So again, it's just going to help keeping it a bit clearer. So next, we're going to talk about files. And so if you've been using the platform for over a couple of years, it's probably likely that you now have a range of old documents, test PDFs, outdated attachments, all within your file store. While they may have served a purpose at one point, today they are just taking up space, making it harder to find the files that you actually use. So deleting old files can help with platform responsiveness as well, and also simplifies your searching. So you're going to spend less time digging around trying to find that one file that you need. So files can be found via the Files menu option in the main navigation menu. And from the Files data grid, you can add the following columns to identify when each file was created, updated, and also the size of the file. So you can see here in the image on the screen, we are in the Files data grid, and we've added in the created, the updated, and the size. So if you're looking to clear out files that are over a number of years old, we can create a filter. So if you're looking to clear out files that specifically are linked to opportunities, for example, you can also build that into the filter. And you can also download the file first. So before you delete them, if you're not too sure, you can download the file. When you're happy that this can be deleted, you then just right click on that file and press delete, and that will remove it altogether from your platform.
Finally, like tasks and files, document packages often accumulate silently in your platform. This includes old document templates, e-learning packages that never took off, knowledge document courses that we haven't offered for 5 years. Removing these documents keeps your content library organised and make sure your team are only working with relevant materials. All three of these are available to manage via the administration menu in your platform. So before we wrap up today's webinar, we want to share our top tips for maintaining a tidy platform. The easiest way to avoid clutter building up, again, is to put a few simple habits in place, agreeing internally what counts as old data and using the tools built into your platform to keep everything organised. Makes it easier for your team to find what they need and save yourself another big cleanup down the line.
Yes, the first thing we recommend is going through a bit of a preparation phase before you actually start the doing of the tidying up.
So ensure the right people are involved. So check what can be deleted with the full business. It's always surprising how some teams can be dependent on something that is used by anyone else. We recommend that data cleanup is carried out by super admins. This makes sure the person actioning the tidy up of data process has full visibility of all records and access to every relevant area of the platform. If you're not a super admin, speak to someone in your team who is.
Yeah, and then after that, it's deciding what areas you want to tidy up and when. So think about each area of the platform that you'd like to focus on. For example, are you looking to delete old, unused files, outdated e-learning packages, old document templates, unused documents that are just no longer relevant? You don't have to do everything at once. Start with one area and expand over time. Then for when, data cleanup can be focused, detail-heavy task, so it's important to pick the right time. We recommend scheduling the work during quieter periods or outside of peak hours to minimize distractions.
So define a clear date range, set a clear rule for what counts as old or unused. This will help you identify which items are safe to delete or archive. For example, delete anything that hasn't been updated in the last 3 years, remove files that were created more than 5 years ago, remove e-learning templates that haven't had any delegates registered on to them since 2021. This step helps avoid guesswork and keeps your cleanup consistent when you get into it.
And then finally, maybe the most obvious one is, but back up anything you might need later. If you're not sure, if you think that you might need something that you're about to delete or some of the data further down the line, even if you're just referencing it, consider downloading or backing it up first. For example, if you want to export a list of users before deleting them, downloading files or reports that you just want to store offline, make sure you have a copy of those key e-learning packages before you delete them. If you delete them from the platform, do you have another copy should you need it at any point? Something to note is that your platform doesn't offer a restore option. So when data is deleted, it is deleted. So it's always worth taking a few minutes to back things up that can offer that little bit of peace of mind. And then our second top tip is to make use of custom fields. So widely used across for course management, for example, it's a great way to manage your platform and keep it tidy too. So for your files, you can create and apply custom fields to keep track of key information about each file that you've got. So it could be the department owner who is responsible for that content. It could be a review or an expiry date, like the one on screen, so you know when to revisit it. Or you could have it as a status. So a file status could be draft, live, or outdated. It helps filtering and knowing what you can use, what you can't use, and what you want to delete. So instead of guessing who owns a file, when it needs checking, or whether it's still current, you've got all this information to hand in the custom fields. It's going to keep your platform tidy, but also gives you the accountability and also the visibility across all of your teams. You can create custom fields for many, many areas in the platform, so it can be useful pretty much across the whole platform, not just within the files that we're using here as an example.
Final top tip is to label everything clearly, whether it's a file, a document template, an e-learning package, or a knowledge document. Clear, consistent naming is your best friend. We recommend including version numbers, e.g. version 1, version 2.1, within the labels of your items. Doing this will help your team spot the most up-to-date version quickly and avoid duplication or confusion down the line. So that's it for top tips.
Sorry, got a bit trigger happy there.
Don't worry. So prepare ahead of a cleanup, use custom fields, label your files, packages and document templates clearly. Please put in the chat, do any of these tips resonate with any of you? Anything you're going to start doing differently?
Yeah, so whilst you guys pop anything in the chat, and before we move on to our Q&A, if you have got anything, please do pop your questions in there. We'll have a quick recap of today's webinar. So today we have looked at clearing up user records by merging duplicates, anonymizing old accounts, and ensuring that your data is accurate and compliant. We then looked at streamlining your course catalog, so archiving those outdated course templates, keeping your offering relevant and easy to manage. We then looked at decluttering historic data and improving efficiencies across your platform. And then finally, we looked at how to maintain a tidy system going forward with just some simple best practices that are going to save time and keep your platform running really smoothly.
So hopefully you should now feel confident about giving your platform a good spring clean and keeping it in top condition. You will receive an email following this session with a link to the recording, and alongside that you'll get a selection of helpful resources to help. So let's move on to the Q&A. So please submit any questions you have about merging, anonymizing, archiving, decluttering into the Q&A. While they come in, here are a couple of questions that we have received before that we think are great questions. So what do all the user statuses mean?
So there's quite a few different user statuses that we've got. The most obvious ones are active and inactive. So obviously active is if they are actively using the platform. So an admin, that could be they're logging in and using it, or as a delegate, they are booking onto courses. Inactive may be something that you change them to after a certain period of time of inactivity. It means that admins especially don't have then access to the platform to be able to see things that they shouldn't be seeing. And for a delegate, again, could just be a general tidying up exercise. Locked is one that we see when people have entered their password wrong a few times. That just is a security feature, and you can change that back to active. An admin will need to do that. Again, it's just a security thing. And deleted is one when you've deleted that user account. It's not something we really recommend, and it's one you probably won't see that often, but that's if an account has been deleted. And then the other one that you may see is new. We don't really recommend using this status because anyone to be able to log into the platform needs to be active. So whilst it does have its uses, it's not one we'd really recommend. You're best sticking with active, to be honest.
So if I archive a course template, can I still see old courses that use that template?
Yeah, absolutely. Archiving a template doesn't remove the courses that have been scheduled or created from that template. You'll still have the full visibility of any past courses and any records associated to it. It's simply just hiding outdated templates when you're using your data grids or scheduling courses.
And will deleting files or documents free up space in the system?
Yeah, so it's going to help reduce clutter and storage usage, which in turn is going to keep your searches and reporting just faster and cleaner. If you're looking through the files data grid and it's having to search through every file in there, by reducing the amount of files that it has to search, ultimately is just going to make that search that little bit snappier, that little bit quicker. So we do have a couple of other Q&A questions that have come in, so we'll just go through those now. One that's come in is, can you restore archive course templates if you need to use them again in the future, or would you need to recreate them? So when we are archiving a course template, we're in effect just using a custom field to mark it as archived. So you could untick that box, and it's more for filtering. So when you archive a template, it's not in effect saying you can never use it. Technically, you could use it, you could still schedule a course off that template if it is archived. It's more to help you with the managing of your course templates when you're scheduling courses. So it's still technically an active template. It's more for helping you manage those data grids, manage those course templates that you've got. So over years, if you've gone from 10 courses to 50 courses, but those original 10 are no longer used, it's just taking them out of that view so it's more streamlined, more easy to schedule. So hopefully that answers that question, but you can still use them at the same time. You don't need to recreate them. You can just untick the checkbox and they'll be technically unarchived.
Well, that's a really good question.
So thank you all so much for joining us for this session. I can see that Jenna has helpfully pasted the link to the workshops in the chat because I sent it to the wrong people. I just sent it to myself and the panelists, not to everyone. So Jen's helped us with that. So the link is in there for any of the upcoming workshops. So yeah, thank you for joining us for the session. Hopefully you found it a bit more, you found it really useful. You feel a little bit more confident and in control of managing your data after today's session.
Yeah, if you have any follow-up questions or want to dive deeper into any part of what we covered, don't hesitate to reach out to our support team.
Yeah, thanks again for your time and have a great rest of your day.